everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back. So my name is Katie if you're new, and today is going to be my first Pan That Palette update for 2023. It's currently January 3rd as of filming this. I'm not sure exactly when you guys are going to see this. I've been having some intermittent computer issues that have now become like very much an issue. So I talked to Apple and they basically said not to use my computer if I can avoid it until I can get it serviced. I'm kind of waiting till the end of the week until I can get in and get that done. So I'm hoping I'll have this up by like the 10th or 11th at the latest, but we'll kind of see how that goes. I have no idea what their like repair backlog is looking like after the holidays. Fingers crossed it won't be too long, but I just wanted to put that out there because I know I talked in my last update about really trying to get myself like back on schedule for this year, but I am filming this at the beginning of the month. So hopefully by February things will be a little bit more normalized. Also because of that, I am not able to use my computer as a monitor. So I'm filming like front facing camera and I don't know exactly where to look. So if I look like I'm not looking directly at the camera, that would be why. So with all that preamble out of the way, I have some progress to share. As predicted in my last update, I knew my usage was going to slow down a little bit over the holidays because I wanted to reach into other things, and I also just had a lot more no makeup days over the past few weeks than I normally do. But despite that, I did manage to hit both of the goals that I'd set for myself. I did hit 2 new pans, and I'm coming down the home stretch on my last original palette from 2022. So having said all of that, I'm just going to start off with my last remaining shade for my original, one of my originals from 2022. So last year I was working on mini palettes, and this is the last remaining. This is the Pat McGrath Mini Sublime, and I've been down to the shade Extrovert, which is like a sort of bronze shade, for the last couple of months. As of the last update, I had just repressed that shade, so I wasn't sure exactly how much I was going to have left and what it was going to look like because there was only a little bit around the edges. But I have found that even when it looks like that's really not a whole lot left, as soon as you repress it, magically it expands. So I didn't want to make any commitments to say I'm going to have this finished because I knew after repressing I would probably find that there was a lot more left than I thought there was going to be, and that was exactly what turned out to be the case. After repressing, I had just enough to cover the entirety of the pan in like a very thin layer. I did say in the video that I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to look like, but I probably was not going to push to have this one finished by this update, and that is exactly what I decided to do. I have been using this one fairly often since coming down here, but I'm definitely not finished. Probably if I'd used it every single day or even used it for like 2 weeks straight, I probably could have finished it, but I really didn't want to do that. So this is what I am looking like right now, and as you guys can see, I do have a pan. I did hit pan on this after a couple of uses. That is throwing off my white balance. I do have a little bit of a pan. This is a very, very thin layer, so every time I use this, especially with the brush, that pan does expand pretty significantly. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to have this one done by the next update. We'll kind of see how that goes. I have used this one 7 times, and I feel like for 7 uses, this is a decent amount of progress, all things considered, especially because I have been using this one not always as an all-over lid shade. Sometimes I'm just using it to kind of like blend the gradient between whatever lighter shade I have on my lid, usually Summer from my Norvina palette, and whatever matte I have on the outside third. I'm not mad about this. I really would like to have this finished because I'm not going to lie to you, I'm getting really tired of going, this is Extrovert, just because Pat McGrath shade names are what they are. So I'm looking forward to having this one done. I'm kind of considering going back and doing another 1 week, 1 shade challenge like I did in the last update, where I said I wanted to use the shade in some capacity every single day for like a week to sort of celebrate like my last week at work for the year. And then I'm thinking, since I'm going back next week, I might do that with this one and just see how much progress I can get, because I don't know, looking at this, if I'm going to be able to have it finished by February. I would really, really like to. I don't know, this is kind of a lot. I feel like the last one that I knocked out in a month, I had half of this remaining, and that was still kind of a struggle, or at least I was cutting it close. So I don't know about this one. We will kind of see how it goes. Fingers crossed that this is a shiny empty pan by the next update, but we will see how that goes. We can hope. So moving on to my Norvina palette, I had a couple of different goals that I wanted to hit with this one. I really wanted to hit pan on Summer, which is the gold. I've been saying that for like 3 months, and I was so close. I knew I was really, really close, but I really wanted to finally make that happen. I also wanted to hit pan on Celestial, which is kind of that purplish blue shimmer, and I wanted to hit side pan on Base, which is the champagne highlight shade. So I will throw on screen a photo of what my palette looked like last update and what it's looking like now. But as you guys can see, I finally hit pan on Summer. I hit pan on Celestial. It's hard to see in the photo, but I'll show you later that I did hit side pan on Base. The only thing that I have not panned that I'm trying to would be Eccentric. I really didn't think that was going to happen this month. I was just hoping to get closer, and I feel like that happened. Overall, I'm not mad about the way this has gone. My usages are definitely down, but I have, I think, more even usage because I did manage to use a couple of shades this update that I hadn't used yet, so I'm happy about that. So starting off with Summer, so I finally did manage to hit pan on this one. In my last update, I said, watch me hit pan in like 1 or 2 uses, and that's exactly what happened. It took me 2 additional uses to hit pan on Summer, and as you guys can see, I do have this like tiny little pan I guess it's not that tiny anymore. I've used this one 3 times, so I'm not mad about this. I think I could have this one done by the end of the year if I just used it consistently. Wild Child, I'm actually really happy with the progress on. Typically, I've been using this one as a blush topper just to kind of add a little bit of sheen to matte blushes. And so I have about half the pan remaining, so I'm really happy with that. I think after this update, or at least sometime in the future, I'm gonna repress this just so that I can get like more even pan coverage when I stick my tiny little highlight brush in there, which is the way that I've been applying it. Typically, my goal after repressing is to re-hit pan by the next update, which I think based on the way I'm doing this is doable. I don't know if it's gonna be realistic to have this one finished by February, but I'm thinking I could get probably fairly close, but we'll see what it looks like after repressing. That could be famous last words, but yeah, I'm really happy with how Wild Child is going. I find baby pink is not great on me. I say looking at the baby pink sweater that I'm knitting behind the camera, but anyways, I'm really glad that this is a shade that I can multitask and use as a blush topper, so I am getting some use out of this. I think this will probably be, surprisingly, the shade that I finish first, just because I am able to use more of it and multitask it. So yeah, I don't know if this will be an empty pan by the next update, but we will definitely see how that goes. So next up, we've got Rose Gold. I think you guys can tell maybe there's a little bit of pan expansion. I've used this one twice and I've really been enjoying it. So I think going into the winter and spring, I'll be using this one more. So I don't really see myself having issues finishing the shade because I know I love it. Then Celestial, I did hit pan. This one also took me 2 uses, so I knew I was close. I think because of the way that I repressed this, it was kind of hard to tell, but I was pretty sure that I was getting close. So I did hit pan on this one in 2 uses. I've used it twice since then, so for 4 uses, and I'm happy with this one. This is a very crumbly shade, and it's one that I really enjoy using on my outer third. This one might take me all year to finish, but I think it's something that is definitely doable. Then Dazzling, I haven't used at all. As you guys can tell, this is a bronze similar to Sextrovert, so I would basically use them for the same thing. So I've been sort of sitting back on Dazzling until I have this one finished, and then as soon as this one is gone, Dazzling is definitely going to be getting a lot of use because I do really like this shade. There's this kind of subtle purple undertone to it. Actually, let me swatch it out and compare it to Sextrovert. As you guys might be able to tell, there's like a little bit of a purplish undertone to this one that Sextrovert doesn't have. This is Dazzling over here. This is Sextrovert, definitely more purple. So just like a fun sort of twist on bronze, and I'm looking forward to getting to reach for it more, but probably won't get a ton of use until Sextrovert is done. Could be next month. We'll kind of see how that goes. Drama, I haven't used enough to make up my mind. Last update I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep this one. I'm still unsure, but I've only used it twice, so I'm hoping next month I'm gonna try to get more uses out of this one just to kind of figure out if I want to keep it or if I want to get rid of it. Some of these are a little bit like thinner than I remember them being, but they're still usable. Drama is getting really crumbly and it's definitely not nearly as pigmented as I remember it being. So I'm thinking I might want to like scrape this one out and maybe repress one of the similar shades that I have in my Melt, Cheese and Parties palette, which I objectively like a lot more and are still performing just fine, into here just so that I do have that deep purple to reach for. So I'm going to give myself another month to think about it and decide. Then Base, as you guys, I think you guys can see it, I did manage to hit side pan on this one. I've been using this one as my default inner corner highlight as well as sometimes as a face highlight. So I have made a lot of progress on this. That way I would say that I've almost doubled the amount of pan that's showing there, so I'm happy about that. This is one of my most used shades since the last update. I've used it 8 times, so really happy about that. And again, I think this one probably won't be done by next month, but I'm thinking by March probably this one will be gone. Then Soul, I've actually been really enjoying using this month, which was a plot twist that I didn't really see coming. I've used Soul 4 times. A couple of updates ago, I said that I felt like this was a really pretty shade in theory, but also just in reality, really tricky on a lot of people. And one of you guys commented and said that you really like to use it just on the outer third of the lid and then just tapping the edges to blend it into whatever else you were using very gently. And I tried doing that and I really enjoyed it. I did kind of like a two-tone eye using Soul on kind of like the outer half and then Love on the inner, and then mirroring that on the lids using Rose Gold and Celestial, and I really liked it. I'm not normally as much of like an ethereal makeup kind of girl. I definitely prefer a more like smoky, dramatic, grungy kind of eye, but I really enjoyed the ethereal vibes that gave, so I will definitely be wearing that again in the future. I liked it so much I wore it 2 days in a row, which almost never happens. I may not finish Soul by the end of the year, but I feel like I found a way to use it. So to whoever commented that, you know who you are. Thank you so much, because that was a real game changer. Then Incense, I do have quite a bit of pan expansion there, which I'm pretty happy about. This has become one of my default starter shades. It's a little bit deep for me to feel comfortable calling it a transition because I find it does pull a little bit deeper on me than it looks in the pan, but I have been using this as my like first crease shade, I guess. I've used this one 7 times and I feel like there is, you know, definitely some pan expansion. I think this one will probably be gone by the summer at the rate that I'm going. Then Love, I've used twice. Again, I feel like heading into winter and spring, I'll be using this one more. I have reached into this one twice and I think one of those times I used it as a blush. I've been getting some pan expansion, but I really wanted to not go too ham on this one as a blush, even though it does work that way on me until I have Rose Gold finished. And then if this is still remaining after Rose Gold is done, I will probably dip into it more to finish it as a blush. Then Volatile, also surprisingly one of my most used shades this month. I've used Volatile 8 times, so I have, I think more pan expansion than I initially thought if I look back at the old photos. So I'm happy with the way this one is going. Again, I think this might take me all year to finish, but it's a shade that I really, really enjoy. It's like cool toned, but it's a little bit more saturated than your average gray. So I find it's really flattering. And I actually really like layering this one on top of incense to add a little bit of depth and pairing it with summer as my lid shade. So I've been doing that pretty often and I really enjoyed that. I think I did that for Christmas actually and really, really liked it, but that's been one of my go-tos with this palette for a very long time. Then Eccentric, I think you guys can tell I have a little bit more of a dip going on this one. I only used this one twice, which I kind of surprised myself by because I feel like I used it more than that, but that's what my list says, so that's what we're gonna go with. I would really like to have pan on this one by the next update. I think I actually have a decently sized dip. It's a little bit deceptive, I'm hoping you guys can see, so I think I'm closer than I think I am, but again, this shade is just so hard pressed that it's kind of taking me a while to see progress, but I think it would be really awesome if I could hit pan on this one because this is my last sort of outstanding shade that I think is reasonable for me to pan that I care about. Drama is still kind of obviously, like I just said, up in the air. So I would really like to have this one panned by February just so that I can start making progress on it because I know this one is going to be probably one of the biggest challenges for me to finish just because it is so firmly pressed in there. But also if I want that to happen, I do have to use it more than twice. And then Passion I had used once. So, not a ton of uses, but I feel like there is a little bit of pan expansion there. Maybe, I don't know. Typically this one I'm not going super heavy handed on. So again, I think I can probably finish this one, but it will probably take me most of the year. So that is kind of where I am with this. I am really happy with the progress, despite the fact that I did sort of play with other palettes a lot more than I have been. I think as I head back to work next week, I'm thinking that this one will be getting more use and going back to being like one of my default palettes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do on this one. I'm also just really happy to like finally have hit pan on summer because I have been trying to make that happen for months and seeing it finally happening on the second use was really nice. So that is kind of where I am with this one. In terms of goals that I really want to hit for the next update, like I said, I really do want to hit pan on Eccentric because if I want to have any chance of actually finishing that one, I do need to, I think, hit pan on it fairly soon. So I really want to make that happen. So for base, I want to start clearing out this top left corner here, which I think is doable. Again, I typically use this one as like a inner corner highlight with the pencil brush, so I have a little bit more precision there. So I think if I can start clearing out this top corner and have that empty by the next update, I would be really happy with that. Then for Wild Child, I'm probably going to repress this one at some point. Might be when I get back to my own place in a couple of days, but I would like to re-hit pan on this one and just see like how much usage I can get out of that to see if I can maybe have it finished by the next update. I don't know, we'll see. This one is starting to get a little crumbly though, so it might go faster than I think it will. And then I really do want to get tan expansion on Rose Gold. I know I love the shade, so I'm looking forward to reaching into it more, especially in the winter. And I pretty much just want pan expansion on everything else. Like I said, once I head back to work next week, I might do a 1 week challenge where I have to use the shade every single day in some way, shape, or form. That got me a ton of progress in the last update, so I'm hoping that if I can do that, this will be looking a lot closer to being empty. If I don't have Sextrovert done by the next update, I really want to have it done by mid-February, which I think is doable. So hopefully there will be a lot less of this by the next update and possibly a bright, shiny, empty pan. So that is pretty much everything that I have for this update. I hope you guys had a great holiday season. Whatever you celebrate, or if you didn't, I hope you had a relaxing couple of days off. If you are doing a pan that palette this year, I know it's a little bit early to see progress because it is only early January, but feel free to let me know down below what you're working on for the year and what your goals are. If you're doing this project on YouTube, feel free to let me know. I love to follow along. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one. Bye!